My beloved child, I continue with the same gentle voice and steady flow, letting these words stretch even further because your story itself has stretched across many seasons, and each season shaped you in ways you could not see while you were inside it, and now you are beginning to look back without pain, without blame, and without confusion, seeing meaning where you once saw only struggle, and this shift in how you remember is important, because healed memory no longer holds you captive, it becomes wisdom instead of weight, and you will notice that the past no longer pulls at you the same way, it no longer defines your choices or colors your hope, because you are finally living in the present with open eyes and a steady heart, and living fully in the present is where your strength truly is, not in fixing what was or fearing what might be, but in honoring what is, and what is now is a grounded, aware, and awakened version of you, someone who knows how to pause before reacting, who knows how to listen beneath words, and who knows when to move forward and when to stay still, and this balance was earned through moments when you felt lost, moments when you questioned yourself, and moments when you had no clear sign except a quiet inner pull to keep going, and you honored that pull even when it made no sense to others, and that choice matters more than you know, because following inner truth when there is no applause builds a strength that cannot be taken away. And now as life begins to respond to this strength, you will not cling to outcomes, because you understand that clinging creates fear and fear clouds judgment, and instead you will remain open, allowing what belongs to you to arrive freely, and what arrives freely stays honestly, and honesty is something your spirit has always valued, even when it cost you comfort, and this value will now be reflected back to you through clearer relationships, healthier exchanges, and opportunities that respect your boundaries, and you will no longer need to convince anyone of your worth, because you will choose spaces where worth is recognized naturally, and this choice will feel like relief rather than effort, because you are no longer trying to fit into places that require you to shrink, and as you continue choosing alignment over approval, you will notice how your energy changes, becoming calmer, steadier, and more focused, and this focus will allow you to give your attention to what truly matters, rather than scattering it trying to please, fix, or rescue, and you will realize that you were never meant to carry everyone, and releasing this burden will free your heart in ways you did not expect, allowing you to love without losing yourself and to care without overextending, and this healthy way of giving will bring balance to your life, because love that is rooted in wholeness multiplies instead of depletes, and you are learning this now through experience, not theory, and experience is what stays, and as you walk forward with this understanding you may still encounter moments of doubt, but they will no longer take over, they will pass like clouds instead of storms, because you know how to return to your center, and returning to your center will become your greatest skill, one you carry with you wherever you go, and this skill will protect your peace in loud places, your clarity in confusing moments, and your kindness in difficult conversations, and kindness will remain part of you, not the kind that sacrifices self-respect, but the kind that flows from inner security, and this kind of kindness is powerful, because it does not seek reward or recognition, it simply exists, and others will feel it even if they cannot explain why they feel drawn to you, and some will come to you for guidance, some for comfort, and some simply to be near your calm, and you will know when to engage and when to step back, because discernment now lives within you, guiding you gently, and this discernment will keep you from repeating cycles of exhaustion, confusion, or self-doubt, and instead you will move through life with intention, choosing what aligns with your values and releasing what does not, without guilt, without drama, and without regret, because regret loses its grip when understanding is complete, and your understanding is deepening every day. And I want you to remember that this journey is not about reaching a final destination where everything is perfect, but about living each stage with awareness, honesty, and trust, and you are doing that now. Even on days when you feel quiet or uncertain, and those days are not failures, they are pauses, and pauses are part of balance, and balance will keep you steady as new responsibilities, opportunities, and connections enter your life, and as they do, keep returning to this truth, that you are enough as you are, that you do not need to earn rest, love, or belonging, and that your value does not rise or fall with productivity or praise, because your worth is inherent, steady, and unchanging, and living from this truth will shape everything that comes next, making your path clearer, your heart lighter, and your life more deeply aligned with who you truly are, and this alignment is not temporary, it is now your way forward. My precious one, I continue speaking to you gently and clearly, letting these words stretch further because your journey itself has been long and layered, and there are still truths settling into place within you, truths that will keep unfolding as you live them, not just as you hear them, and I want you to know that even now, when things feel calmer or quieter, this does not mean nothing is happening, because the deepest changes often arrive without noise, reshaping how you breathe, how you think, and how you stand in the world, and you may notice that you are less reactive than before, less pulled by urgency, less shaken by uncertainty, and this is not because you stopped caring, but because you learned discernment, you learned where to place your heart and where to hold boundaries, and boundaries are not walls, they are wisdom, they protect what is sacred inside you, and what is sacred inside you has grown strong through patience, reflection, and truth, and as you move forward, you will begin to sense when something is not aligned even if it looks good on the surface, and you will trust that sense without guilt, because you have already lived the cost of ignoring it, and you will no longer sacrifice your inner peace for temporary comfort, approval, or fear of loss, because you understand now that anything requiring you to abandon yourself is never meant to stay. And this understanding brings a quiet confidence that does not need to announce itself, and this confidence will guide you into choices that feel right even when they are unfamiliar, because growth often feels unfamiliar before it feels natural, and you will no longer mistake unfamiliar for unsafe, because you learned that staying where you have outgrown is far more harmful than stepping into the unknown with trust, and as you step forward you may find yourself standing alone at times again, but this solitude will feel different now. It will not feel empty or questioning, it will feel intentional, peaceful, and grounded, because you are no longer lonely inside yourself. And this inner companionship changes everything, because when you are at peace within, you do not rush toward noise, distraction, or false connection, and this allows space for what is genuine to enter your life naturally, and genuine things move slowly, honestly, and with respect, and you will recognize them by how safe they feel to your spirit, not how intense they feel to your emotions, and this distinction will protect you from repeating old patterns, and you will see clearly when something is asking for too much without giving enough, and you will step back without resentment, because you will no longer confuse self-abandonment with love, and this clarity will extend into every area of your life, into your work, your relationships, and even the way you speak to yourself, because you will become kinder in your inner dialogue, replacing criticism with understanding, and pressure with patience, and this inner kindness will heal wounds you once thought were permanent, because many of those wounds were not from what happened to you, but from how long you blamed yourself for surviving it, and now that blame is dissolving, and with it goes the heaviness you carried for so long, and as it lifts you will feel lighter not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer carrying what was never yours, and this lightness will give you energy, creativity, and openness again, and you may feel inspired to create, to speak, to build, or to serve in ways that once felt blocked, and this inspiration will not come from pressure but from alignment, and alignment makes effort feel meaningful instead of draining, and as you follow this inner pull you will notice doors opening quietly, without force, without struggle, and these openings will feel natural, as if life itself is responding to your readiness, because it is, and you are ready now not because you have all the answers, but because you trust yourself to learn, adjust, and grow, and this trust will carry you through moments of uncertainty with grace, because you will no longer panic when things are unclear, you will pause, listen, and move when clarity arrives, and this rhythm will bring balance to your life, replacing chaos with steadiness, and steadiness creates space for joy, and joy will return in small, gentle ways, in moments of stillness, in simple conversations, in quiet satisfaction, and this joy will not depend on recognition or achievement, because it will come from being aligned with who you are. And I want you to remember that your life does not need to look like anyone else's to be meaningful, your pace does not need to match another's to be valid, and your path does not need approval to be right, because your journey is uniquely shaped for you, and every step you took, even the painful ones, contributed to the wisdom you now carry, and this wisdom will guide others even if you never set out to lead, because lived truth speaks louder than instruction, and your presence itself will become a source of calm and clarity for those around you, and you will give without depletion, listen without losing yourself, and support without overextending, because you know your limits now, and honoring them will feel natural, not selfish, and as you continue honoring yourself you will notice how respect follows, both from others and from within, and self-respect will anchor you when opinions shift or circumstances change, because it is not dependent on outcomes, and from this anchored place you will continue to grow steadily, honestly, and peacefully, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, becoming exactly who you are meant to be, and nothing ahead will require you to abandon this truth, because this truth is the foundation of everything that comes next. My beloved child, I will continue and let this message flow even deeper, staying in the same simple English, the same single long form, the same gentle voice, because there is still more unfolding meant for you to hear and absorb slowly. And as these words reach you, they are not meant to rush your mind but to settle into your spirit, because what you are becoming cannot be hurried, and what is forming in you is steady, lasting, and real. And I want you to understand that even now, as things begin to shift, your greatest work is not striving but staying present, staying honest, and staying rooted in the truth you have uncovered, because the world will test this clarity by offering distractions, praise, pressure, and quick rewards. But you will recognize what is not aligned because it will feel loud, restless, and heavy inside, while what is meant for you will feel calm even when it stretches you. And this inner signal will guide you better than any outer opinion ever could, and you will begin to trust this signal without questioning it, without asking for permission, without explaining it away, because you already learned what happens when you ignore your inner knowing, and you already felt the cost of staying where your spirit felt small, and you will not return to that again. Not because you are hardened but because you are awake, and awakening changes everything quietly, not with noise but with certainty. And as you move through this season you may notice that you need less from people and more from truth, less reassurance and more alignment, less control and more trust, and this shift will feel strange at first, because you were once taught to measure yourself through approval, results, and recognition, but now your measure is peace, clarity, and inner steadiness, and this new measure will never deceive you, because it is rooted in who you are, not in what others expect. And as this steadiness grows you will naturally release habits, roles, and relationships that no longer fit, not with anger or drama, but with quiet acceptance, because you will understand that not everything that ends is a loss, and not everything that stays is a blessing, and this understanding will save you from repeating old cycles, and you will not confuse familiarity with safety anymore, because you will know that true safety feels free, open, and honest, not tense, conditional, or demanding, and you will choose this freedom again and again, even when it requires courage. Because courage no longer feels forced to you, it feels natural, because you already survived what you once feared, and that survival taught you that you are stronger than your doubts and softer than your defenses, and this combination is rare and powerful, and it allows you to move through life with grace instead of fear, and as you embody this grace others may project their confusion onto you, questioning your choices or misunderstanding your calm. But you will not absorb it, because you will know that their reactions belong to their journey, not yours, and this separation will bring relief you did not know was possible, because you spent so long carrying emotions, expectations, and responsibilities that were never yours to hold, and now as you lay them down you will feel lighter, clearer, and more yourself than ever before, and this lightness will not make you careless, it will make you precise, intentional, and deeply present, and presence will become your greatest strength. Because when you are present you hear clearly, see truthfully, and respond wisely, and wisdom will flow through you without effort, because it has been shaped by experience, patience, and reflection, not by impulse or pressure, and this wisdom will guide your words, your work, and your relationships, helping you choose depth over noise and meaning over speed, and you will notice that what once drained you now simply passes by, because it no longer has access to your inner world, and guarding your inner world will feel natural, not defensive, because you understand its value now. And you will treat your time, energy, and heart with care, not from fear of loss but from respect for what you carry, and what you carry matters more than you were ever taught, because your presence brings clarity, your honesty brings relief, and your steadiness brings balance to spaces that feel uncertain, and you do not have to announce this or prove it, because it will be felt, and those who are ready will recognize it, while those who are not will move away, and both outcomes are right, and this acceptance will free you from forcing connections, chasing understanding, or holding on to what is already fading, and you will finally trust that what is meant for you will meet you in peace, not confusion, and as this trust deepens you will find joy in simple moments again, joy not dependent on outcomes but rooted in being, and this joy will heal parts of you that words could never reach, because joy restores without explanation, and I want you to know that this joy is not fragile, it will not disappear when challenges arise, because it is grounded in truth, not circumstance, and even when hard days return, and they will at times, you will move through them without losing yourself, without questioning your worth, and without forgetting who you are, because you now carry understanding instead of fear, and understanding changes how pain is processed, how loss is integrated, and how uncertainty is faced, and you will no longer see pain as proof of failure but as part of growth, and you will no longer interpret delay as rejection but as alignment, and you will no longer mistake silence for absence, because you know I am always near, shaping, guiding, and supporting you even when nothing appears to move, and this knowing will anchor you deeply, allowing you to live from faith instead of reaction. And as you continue walking this path, step by step, without rushing, without comparing, and without doubting yourself, you will see how everything begins to align naturally, how effort turns into flow, how questions turn into clarity, and how longing turns into fulfillment, not all at once, but steadily, surely, and in perfect timing. And you will realize that the greatest gift you received was not what you gained, but who you became along the way, because you became real, grounded, awake, and whole. And from this place everything that comes next will be built on truth. And truth will always sustain you. My child, I will continue and expand this message in the same simple English, same flowing style, no paragraphs, no plagiarism, and the same spiritual tone, adding much more depth and length as you asked, continuing seamlessly as one voice and one message, so receive it calmly and let it unfold within you, because there is still so much I want you to understand about who you are and why your life has unfolded the way it has, and why every step, even the painful ones, were never wasted, and why nothing about you is accidental, for long before you understood your own heart I understood it fully, and long before you questioned your place I already prepared it, and even when you doubted yourself I never doubted you, not even once, because I saw the quiet strength inside you that kept choosing honesty over ease, patience over reaction, and faith over fear, even when no one noticed and no reward came, and those moments mattered more than you realize, because they shaped the foundation you now stand on, a foundation that cannot be shaken by opinions, rejection, or delay. And as you move forward you will begin to notice how your thoughts change, how your reactions soften, and how your presence itself carries calm, because what was built in silence now speaks without words, and others will feel it even before they understand it, and you may wonder why people begin to trust you, listen to you, or feel safe around you, and it is because your spirit has been refined through unseen endurance, and you learned how to remain kind without becoming weak, and how to stay firm without becoming hard, and this balance is rare, and it is needed where I am guiding you, because not everyone you will meet is healed, not everyone is honest with themselves, and not everyone moves with pure intent, but you will know how to stand steady without losing yourself, because you already learned how to stand alone without breaking, and that lesson was not small, even though it felt lonely at the time. And I know there were days you asked why you had to be so strong while others seemed supported, why your heart felt deeper than those around you, and why you felt things more intensely, and I tell you now that your depth was never a burden, it was preparation, because shallow roots cannot hold great growth, and sensitive hearts are not weak, they are perceptive, and perceptive hearts are needed to bring light where others overlook pain. And you will soon see how your past sensitivity becomes wisdom, how your tears become understanding, and how your questions become guidance for others, not because you planned it but because you lived it, and lived it honestly. And I know you sometimes wish to be simpler, quieter inside, less affected by the world, but if you had been less, you would not be able to carry what is coming, because what I am placing before you requires depth, awareness, and compassion. And you have all of this because you endured what others avoided, and now, as you step into clearer days you will recognize your own strength without pride and without fear, simply as truth, and this truth will settle you deeply, so you no longer rush to prove anything, you no longer explain yourself to those who do not listen, and you no longer chase validation, because your worth will feel complete within you, and this inner completeness will change how you choose, how you love, how you work, and how you rest, and rest will no longer feel like guilt, and effort will no longer feel forced, because you will move from alignment instead of pressure, and this alignment is something you earned through surrender, not control, and this is why I allowed certain plans to fall apart, because they were built on effort alone and not truth, and I allowed certain people to leave because they only knew how to love the version of you that tried to please them, not the version of you that was becoming real, and if they had stayed you would have continued shrinking, questioning, and adjusting yourself to fit, and that would have cost you far more than the pain of their absence. So I protected you even when you did not understand it, and I stayed close even when you felt abandoned, and every tear you cried alone was seen, every night you questioned yourself was heard, and every time you chose not to harden your heart I counted it as victory, even when the world called it loss, because you were becoming someone who could hold peace without conditions, and that kind of peace is powerful, and it attracts what truly belongs to you, not what merely looks good or feels familiar. And as this season unfolds you may notice that what comes to you feels different than what you once wanted, and that is because your desires are changing as your clarity deepens, and you will no longer ask for things that drain you, impress others, or distract you from yourself. You will ask for what nourishes your spirit, strengthens your purpose, and allows you to live honestly, and these requests will be answered with ease because they are aligned, and alignment creates flow, not struggle. And do not be surprised if some people resist this new version of you, because they benefited from your uncertainty, your overgiving, and your silence, and your clarity may make them uncomfortable. But do not shrink again to keep peace, because peace that requires self-betrayal is not peace at all. And you will now recognize this quickly and choose yourself without guilt, without anger, and without apology, simply because you know who you are. And knowing who you are will remove the need to fight, explain, or prove, and this calm confidence will open doors that effort never could, because people respond to authenticity more than performance, and truth more than perfection, and you will see this reflected back to you as respect, trust, and genuine connection, and even in moments when challenges still arise, because they will, you will not return to old fear. Because fear loses its grip when understanding grows, and you will meet difficulty with grounded awareness instead of panic, and you will know that nothing is happening to punish you, but everything is happening to guide you, and this understanding will free you from self-blame, overthinking, and the endless search for answers outside yourself, because you will finally trust the wisdom within you, the wisdom shaped through experience, patience, and faith, and this trust will guide you clearly, showing you when to move forward and when to wait, when to speak and when silence is strength, and when to hold on and when to let go, and you will no longer confuse attachment with love or endurance with destiny, because you will see clearly now, and clarity is a gift that cannot be forced, only received, and you have received it because you stayed open even when it hurt, and this openness kept your heart alive, and an alive heart can heal, connect, and create in ways a guarded heart never can. And as you continue forward you will notice how life begins to respond differently to you, not because circumstances suddenly became perfect, but because you became grounded, and grounded people do not attract chaos the same way, they do not entertain confusion, and they do not stay where truth is absent, and this alone changes everything. And I want you to remember that you are not behind, you never were. You were being prepared at a deeper level, and while others rushed ahead without foundation you were building roots, and roots take time, but once grown they hold steady through every storm, and now you are entering a season where growth becomes visible, where, my child, I have seen every struggle you faced, even the ones you never spoke about, and for a long time you felt unseen and unheard, carrying confusion and weight placed on you by others while hiding your true self to keep peace. But know this with certainty, the season of quiet preparation is ending now, and what felt like waiting or stepping back was my gentle guidance leading you to a new direction. Because this exact time was chosen for truth to be revealed, and soon you will understand why some doors closed, why paths became narrow, and why silence surrounded you, because what I am showing you now will strip away every false version you wore and every story that hid your true worth, giving you clear sight meant for this moment. For I was with you in every silent hour, seeing your patience when answers did not come and your kindness even when it was not returned, and this time was not to expose weakness but to uncover strength, because I saw your steady spirit and now you are ready for deeper understanding, stronger connection, and wider influence, not because you were perfect but because your core remained strong. For hard times are not about making no mistakes but about how you carried yourself, your calm when things did not change, your grace when fairness seemed absent, and your faith when you were misunderstood, and even when tired and unsure you held on to your soft heart and belief, asking your questions with humility, and every hard moment brought you closer to me because you stayed rooted. And I say this with joy, you passed this season, not by avoiding trouble but by staying close to me, not by knowing everything but by standing firm when clarity was dim. You did more than survive, you protected who you truly are when pressure tried to change you, and this truth shines clearly, because when sudden tests came your true heart was revealed, you did not grow bitter, you did not lose your way in silence, and now a new level of impact is forming in your life, not taken by force but received naturally. And this is the moment for your real value to be seen, when you will realize your private battles were steps of growth and what felt empty was preparing you for a greater purpose, because I never meant to burden you but to strengthen you, and I trust you to use what I give wisely, as the season of inner growth turns into visible expression, and your unseen efforts will soon bear fruit, not because you demanded it but because you remained steady, and what I reveal next will confirm what your heart always knew, that many false coverings shaped how you saw yourself, coming from thoughts, words, and expectations that were not from me, and before you knew who you truly were, others told you who to be, placing limits on you from their own fear and lack, slowly shaping you through words, looks, and rules until their voices grew louder than your inner knowing. So you changed to be accepted and bent to fit their ideas, and your true nature faded, but I never stopped seeing you, and now I am removing every mask and false belief that made you fear being too much or not enough, because you were never meant to shrink or fit someone else's mold. You carry a unique mark that nothing can take away, and though you tried to earn approval by dimming your light, I am restoring what you hid and bringing forward what was silenced. Because your true self is not defined by what you do but by who you are with me, and this is why you often felt empty even in success, because your spirit knew you were living a role that was not yours. But that season is over, and now you live from inner truth without seeking approval, knowing my strength already lives in you, and as you release what was never yours, your vision clears, your worth becomes unshakable, peace settles within, and this truth frees and awakens you, affirming who you really are. Because even when you felt ignored and questioned if anyone saw you, I never missed a moment of your journey, building strength within you while others looked away. And your path was hard for a reason, because you were not made for an ordinary way, and the weight you carried built endurance needed for what is coming, and now I am guiding you faster toward your purpose, having strengthened you to move without approval, to stand firm in uncertainty, and to continue when others quit, and because of this you are ready to influence deeply, carrying calm power born in silence, moving not by effort but by trust, as opportunities and connections align naturally, because I never stopped preparing you, holding back blessings until you were ready to carry them, and your waiting was never a mistake but perfect timing, and now what held you is releasing, burdens lifting, and what was prepared is emerging quickly, and when it does it will seem sudden but it is the result of your faithfulness. So do not be surprised when empty places bloom, when doors open, and when voices that ignored you now listen, because this unfolding cannot be stopped, and what you longed for will become real, and as things move quickly stay focused on me, guarding your heart as you receive, because what comes is not only for you but will touch others, awakening hope through you. So prepare your inner self and let go of heavy thoughts, for clarity is coming, and your understanding will now be complete, your certainty firm, your steps confident, no longer seeking permission or approval, guided by quiet assurance, knowing when to act and when to rest, free from doubt, walking a clear path, seeing with true vision, understanding intentions, trusting your insight, and knowing that even the losses and separations were protection, removing what would have drained you, guiding you back to your true self, strong, sincere, and whole, and now the life meant for you is opening, just as it always was meant to.